Fox Sports 1340 AM presents to you
WMER, Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, starring The Firm, J-Lo, Nephew, Corey, and Dr. D, bringing you the latest up-to-date information on professional wrestling and sports entertainment. Now, live from the Fox Sports 1340 studios in Hopewell, Virginia.
The story goes like this. What's going down, Mark Universe? This is the exec Dr. D, the Doctor of Devastation, the Almanac of Information, the Mark of Excellence. Yes, as always, I'm a mark for this business. Let me switch to my co-host, the one and only G-Lo. Talk to him, G-Lo. Sing to him, Daddy.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestling Marks of Excellence here on Fox Sports Radio 1340. Like you just heard, we're joined by the exec himself, Dr. D, tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We got that guy, Darius, on as well. We also got the wizard himself, Nephew Corey, in the house. And, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show for you tonight. Oh, my goodness, we got a great show. We're going to talk about Occupy Raw. We're going to talk about the road to WrestleMania. But we also going to speak to tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the lady who's the only person who's been the WWE Women's Champion, who's been the Diva Champion, and she's also been the Knockout Champion, and that's no other, ladies and gentlemen, than the one, the only, the lovely, the voluptuous, the vivacious Micke James, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk to her later on tonight. We're going to have a great show for you. Well, let's get started like we normally do here on the Wrestling Marks of Excellence, here on Fox Sports Radio 1340. And we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. If you missed Monday Night Raw from this past Monday, you missed an excellent show. Ladies and gentlemen, you missed a show where we saw hundreds of fans in the ring. We saw Paul Heyman drop another excellent promo like he always does on Monday night. We saw John Cena, two icons in the ring. John Cena and the Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania himself, were in the ring together. We saw Bray Wyatt cut an excellent promo. And we got more matches that been lined up for the WrestleMania card. If you missed Monday Night Raw, you missed the official match that's been made. Now John Cena will take on Bray Wyatt at this year's WrestleMania 30 coming from New Orleans. We also saw last night Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, where Paul Heyman cut another promo. We also saw another match that was officially made last night, with Daniel Bryan will take on the COO, Triple H himself. And if Daniel Bryan wins the match against Triple H, Daniel Bryan will be inserted into the triple threat match. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Bryan will be inserted into the triple threat match against Randy Orton and Batista, and he will become, if he wins that match, he will become the new unified heavyweight champion. It was a great show by Monday Night Raw, a great showing of Monday Night Raw last night by WWE. It's one of those Raws which was epic. People are talking about it today. It was good to see how they occupied Raw. We talked about a couple of weeks ago how they were hijack Raw, but now we saw them actually occupy Raw. It was great to set in the two-segment show that Daniel Bryan put on the promo. Daniel Bryan put on the way the crowd reacted, the camera shots. It made Raw seem like it was 1997 all over again, and the NWO just coming to the ring. It was great to see how the creative team have put a swerve on this Daniel Bryan thing ever since SummerSlam. Don't know if they had this in the works from the beginning or they had to go back and change it up because of CM Punk. But last night did solidify something for me, that CM Punk is back in the WWE. Some of you listeners may say, well, how do you see that? Well, I see it this way. I see that the match, intelligent man that I am, I see the match going this way. I see CM Punk causing Triple H the match, somehow getting Daniel Bryan the win to throw him into the triple threat match, which sets up again Triple H and CM Punk. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. But Raw was great last night, had a good showing, had a good setup for Monday Night Raw. We also saw a little bit more friction between the Real Americans with Cesaro and Jack Swagger. We also saw the Usos recapture the tag team titles against Axel with the New Age Outlaws sitting outside the ring. WWE is moving in the right direction to this road to WrestleMania. We're only 4 weeks away, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great ride so far, and I'm looking forward to the greater things to come in the next few weeks. At this time, I want to bring in that guy, Darius, to hear his thoughts on, share his thoughts on Monday Night Raw.
That guy. What's going on, fellas? Raw was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that segment that had Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. Really good, really smart, creative transition they made. Even though we forced, I guess we could say we had seen that they were going to readjust the championship match just because of the rise in that was Daniel Bryan, or the existing heat that was popular with Daniel Bryan, and then the low ratings that was Orton and Batista. But the transition that they made into that was really good. I enjoyed it. I'm really hoping, and I may be stepping a little too far, but really hoping that they don't play that typical route where, of course, Daniel Bryan beats Triple H, but in the end, Triple H beats up Daniel Bryan after the match. I mean, it looks really good to those who don't really have the keen eye for creative, but I just hope that, it's a clean win all the way across the board. So, well, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
We got to bring the Wizard in, the most knowledgeable one of all of us. Wizard, your thoughts on this past Monday Night Raw?
Well, thank you for that. You speak the truth. So I'll put it this way: as that guy Darius just said, we kind of foreseen this coming. I do think that I'm not disagreeing with him, but I think they do go that route of Triple H really, laying a punishment on Daniel Bryan after their match, just to give it that whole rise to the occasion at the end where Daniel Bryan overcomes the odds and wins the championship. Although personally, I can't subject myself to the obvious. There's a part of me that kind of is hoping for the swerve, somewhere a la like WrestleMania 2000, where it was almost a foregone conclusion that The Rock was going to win the belt, but Triple H walks out still WWF champion. I just, for some reason, I still see Orton walking out as champion. A part of me still sees that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
If we get that, let's look at it this way. If we get that, you have 80,000 people who will be jam-packed into that arena, right? 80,000 people in that arena. I'm not saying they're going to riot and they're going to fuss, but you don't want your pay-per-view to end on a downward note. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the only other way that it won't then, if that's the case, is if Daniel Bryan somehow loses. And I see this actually happening in either match, either with Triple H at first or the main event if he gets there. Somehow Daniel Bryan losing and getting screwed only for Vince to reappear and start the match over some kind of way. I see that happening, but like I said, we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, we will see. We'll definitely see when we get there. Like I said, I don't see any swerve that I actually see coming out of this is that CM Punk will reemerge with a swerve here and cause Triple H to lose to Daniel Bryan, which would send fans ecstatic in New Orleans because we won't see him until New Orleans. If he come back, I'm to the conclusion, if he's coming back, he's not coming back until New Orleans. Just based off the story, the way the storylines and stuff been going, there's no point to bring him back early for anything because he has no place right now. If you're going to bring him back,
either way, guys, can we stop the Raw right now because she's here? She is here.
So
can we stop it now? All right. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we here at Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, starring the firm, Fox Sports 1340 AM, WHAP, Hopewell, Virginia, honors Women's History Month, and we are not going to waste any time because she is here. She is on our show, and she's given us so much of her valuable time just to be with us. I can't believe it. I am so much in awe because what better woman to have on our show right now than the first and only WWE Women's Champion, WWE Divas Champion, and TNA Knockouts Champion. That is the pinnacle right now in women's wrestling to hold all three, but nobody's ever going to say that they'll hold the WWE Women's title in this day and age except for her, along with the Divas title and the TNA Knockouts title. And yes, folks, she is still doing her country music. She has her latest CD, Somebody's Gonna Pay. We're going to play a couple of songs from that. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the one, the only Miss Micke James. Hey, Micke!
Well, hey.
How are you?
That was one heck of an introduction. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, of course I do it for you, my friend. It is so.
Well,
I'm so honored.
Not run out of breath.
Oh, no, I'm just fine. I'm going to maintain my composure a little bit today, even though I know it's you and I know I've seen you so many times, been able to talk to you so many times. Just being able to know you is such a pleasure. And I won't hold it again. I won't hold it against you because you're talking to a couple of Redskins fans plus one Philly guy, you know. But nevertheless, I won't hold that against you. But thank you, Micke. You know what? You are indeed the Grand Slam champion right now, and no one is ever going to be able to say that. That's women's history in itself, and really, and I'm not just making this up, you are the measuring stick of women's wrestling today.
Oh, wow. Now you're generous.
You really are. And hear me out when I say this. I mean, when I think about, okay, you have the NWA of yesterday, with Ric Flair being the champ, being able to go from city to city, territory to territory. You're kind of like that female Ric Flair that everyone is going to in the independent. And knowing me, I see you go.
That's very sweet.
I'm sorry, Micke. Go ahead.
I was like, no, you're very sweet. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but I really appreciate you saying so. That's really sweet.
Well, see, this is the thing. I'm very observant, and I don't, and I really admit to any of the independent stars that I'm affiliated with. What do I see in them? But of course, what I see in the already legends like yourself is when you go to these independent promotions, it's like you're the person that the female wrestlers of the young female wrestlers in the indies want to go to talk to and be able to work with because they know that they want to get to that next step that you already have that. You know, so tell me about some of the experiences you had so far in the independent promotion and what kind of advice have you given to some of these female stars?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's always rewarding, you know, to be able to work with people because it's like they have that same fire in their eyes that I had. And I feel like I still have, you know, but on a different level.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I have achieved that level of success, and I've been fortunate enough to see it, to taste it, and then, you know, have that taken away in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't negate the fact that I still want it and I still want it back. So,
right.
But in the same token, in the same breath, you know, it's like I do recognize the fact that I have been very blessed and very fortunate in order to achieve my dreams, and not everybody can say that. And
okay.
So if there's something that I can pass on to someone who actually wants it, the thing is, you know, here's the deal: is that like, and this is true in all things. People will oftentimes ask you for advice, but they don't necessarily want to hear your advice. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
unless
absolutely.
It's all like positive and roses, and let's face it, it's not. You know what I mean? So, I'm a pretty positive person at the end of the day, but I'm also honest, especially about this business that I love so much. So, I try to be honest as much as possible as far as, you know, what I think from each person, you know, that ever asked me. So it's really cool, but it's also really cool to be able to like just work with just so many different people. You know, the thing is that with, you know, TNA, like the locker room was pretty small, especially there for at the end, so there was very limited types and amounts of matches that you could do. And, you know, that was really never true for WWE. They always had a pretty big locker room in a sense, but at the same time, like the top caliber wrestlers, you know, I was there as they were all, like, for the most part, you know, really amazing wrestlers. You know what I mean? So, you know, so I got to work with so many different people there, you know, and I got to work with some incredible people at TNA as well. But
yeah, and that's the thing. People that may not know of your career like we do, and the thing is, if people go back and never watch the very first TNA, you were part of TNA from the very beginning. I mean, we're looking at the other day. I the other day I watched the old episode when you came out as Alexis Lurie, and we all know, of course, that's your middle name. And the thing is, you are also working with CM Punk under Raven, and people may not know of this. So can you compare your earlier experiences to TNA to when you had returned?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like when TNA first started, when I first started with TNA, that first run, like, hey, we were only on a month-to-month kind of deal. I think my longest deal with them was like a 3-month contract. So in between there, I was still doing WWE. In between my contracts, I should say, I was still doing WWE tryouts and at least sending in tapes and stuff like that I could do. But at the same time, like, it was such a baby company, and obviously it was Jeff Jarrett's company and his father's company at the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we were doing the shows out of Nashville Fairgrounds, and it was a very, like, home type of feeling because everybody was in the same spot. Like, and for the most part, everybody wanted this company to be successful because we all recognize that competition is an amazing thing, right, for the industry as a whole. It's a great thing for us as workers because not only is it just to a more competitive market in the sense of, like, it'll push you to have better matches than anybody else on TV because, let's face it, if you're not in the business to be the best, then you might as well not even be in it. But it also, gives, the companies a little competition in the sense of, like, maybe they feel the need to step up their game and to step up their matches and to step up their shows as well and their talent. So, and we had such a, like, budding pool of, like, young talent at the time. If you look at the amount of that talent that went on and has done some amazing things in either company, it's pretty substantial. So, I mean, we were just having fun. Like, I just loved it. I got to work. The reason why I met Raven, honestly, was when Punk was working Raven with Ring of Honor, and I was working with Ring of Honor at the time. So that's how I kind of, because I was waiting for TNA to call me back after that first pay-per-view. It was like that whole big battle royal, and one of the girls won a contract, out of 25 of us. But, you sit there and you do that, and you hope, like, okay, well, maybe they'll see you, and they'll like what they see or whatever, and perhaps call you back. But I was always waiting for that call from WWE regardless. It's because I didn't dream of being a TNA star when I was a little kid. I dreamed of being a WWF at the time star, and now WWE, obviously, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to WMER Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, starring the firm, Fox Sports 1340 AM. We are joined by the one and only Miss Micke James. Let's go to the Wizard nephew, Corey. Wizard, talk to her.
Well, Micke, hello there. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I am wonderful. This is Corey, a.k.a. The Wizard. I'm just on the show, just kind of doing my thing, hosting, and I have the honor of talking to you, which is the highlight of my day.
Aww.
And, just for the record, I'm the Philly fan. Sorry. But I'm the Philly fan, so, I'm an Eagles fan, so, thanks for the...
I'll have to give it to you, being an Eagles fan, with the exception of Michael Vick, is much better than being a Redskins fan.
Well, thank you.
Oh, the low blow. The low blow has started. Oh, God. No.
I appreciate that. So, Micke, my first question for you, just, thinking back on your career, I know you've been in the ring with a lot of opponents. Who do you think right now off the top of your head is probably your greatest opponent?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on which side you're looking at as far as greatest opponent of all time. Like, obviously, the most memorable match, the one that, most people, when they think of, like, their favorite match of mine, they're ultimately going to go the match with Trish at Mania, which was that whole feud, that storyline of my introduction into the company, and therefore kind of really set the groundwork for who I was within that company or just within the industry there on after. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better introduction. And yeah, I really don't think that anybody's introduction, you know, not since then, but just like it was so incredible because it really it gave so much emotional investment and really just like time into my character and to just developing this character. And it's hard to say like who's had that much, you know, as a female, especially since then, you know, and as a female, you know, competitor and not just like a girlfriend or valet or whatever, but as a serious competitor. I don't think anybody else has, you know.
Right. And you know what? That's why you're just awesome and a half, because you tied in directly into my next question that I had was just
well,
the
I
whole...
didn't finish answering your question.
No, go ahead.
Because it's hard. That's a really hard decision. Like, obviously, that wasn't, but one of my, the people that I loved working and it just got to be so amazing on a daily night was probably Beth Phoenix. And her character coming in was so strong, like she was playing that power, and it really gave me a chance to be that underdog and to feel defeated in that sense of like I just couldn't win. I don't know. So, but yeah, most people would say Trish Stratus for sure, and I would have to, you know, probably agree with them 99%. I just had some really amazing matches with Beth. And obviously I was honored to work with Lita on her way out, and I'll finally be able to work the program with her. And she's somebody I've looked up to for a very long time. So, you know, it's with everybody. You have your own chemistry and you make your own magic. You know what I mean? So each storyline was really special to me in that sense, is because you could make it your own and make it really, really special. And you hope that, you know, I hope that the people that worked with me at the time, you know, found that same magic in it, you know, in their own right.
Wow, because it's like I'm looking at, you know, my sheet here of what I wanted to ask you, and clearly I was getting ready to ask you your thoughts on how that the whole gimmick of you coming in with the way with you and Trish when you first got introduced in, but also I was going to ask you about working with Lita in her last match, and you just touched on so much, like just right there. Like you're awesome. But I guess we can go back to that. The Lita and her working with her last match. What was your mindset going into that, knowing, you know, that she was on her way out?
It was a bittersweet moment, I think, not just for me but for the fans as well. I mean, Alita, let's face it, to go from one of the top female, like, good guys, good girls in the business to the most hated, it is a pretty, if you can do that, like, it's easier to be one or the other, right? You can be hated, you can be loved, but to be both is real. If you can capture that and honestly be both and embrace it, then that's a true talent, and not many people can do it. You know what I mean? I don't know, you know, I say I'm so excited for her, and she totally deserves that, because that says a lot in itself. But to be able to work with her on her way out, like, I mean, a lot of people don't know is that, like, she really helped me so much, you know, in trying to make it and making it and helped me and guide me along with, like, things like I should do, shouldn't do, and bits of advice. And I really felt like at the end, you know, at that point, Trish had left and then Lita had left, and, like, that whole golden era, she was the last really bit of that golden era of women's wrestling where it was such, I mean, it was main event and Raw, and they were having, you know, hardcore type of matches, and, you know, that was the end of it. And so it was a bittersweet moment for us all, I think. You know, it was cool because it started the new generation, I guess, with myself, who was already there, and Melina and Beth Phoenix and Jillian, and obviously there's the Divas that had come in as well, but it was ultimately, you know, that she was the last one of that. You know, because Molly and Jacqueline, they were all gone at that point.
Yeah, and that's what I was. That's what I was going to ask you next. I guess, so do you consider that time around 2006, early 2007 was kind of that transition period, I guess, of what we know the Diva/women's division was morphing into where we are now? Is that kind of where you see that started to happen?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and because you think about that, even like that's when, you know, soon after like they branding the females instead of individuals, they're divas. You know what I mean? And it was all in a certain class. And then TNA followed suit with the knockouts. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like, okay, it's cool because it has like you're in a division or whatever, but it's no different than the guys being considered like, oh, they're the cruiserweights. You know what I mean? So it kind of controls you in a sense because you can't break out of that diva mold and just be a character all your own.
Right.
So,
right.
It's like a catch-22 in the sense, you know what I mean? Instead of being marketed anymore of being, you know, Micke James the star, you're Micke James the diva, and along with these 15 other divas, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So
but I mean, yeah, it was a change, and it was a transitional period, and I think that, you know, and obviously the standard for women's wrestling and the whole, as far as televised, and the whole like concept of what women represent in the industry has started to shift a little bit, you know, and it's ever evolving. If you've watched the, you know, whole history of women's wrestling, it's ever evolving, right? Like it goes through obviously Attitude Era, like this whole sex sells, and here comes Sable and the handprints, and you know, and then it goes back to the wrestling, and then it goes more glamorous with the divas and the beautiful and the, you know, fabulous side of it back, and you know, I'm sure that it's going to come full circle because at the end of the day, it's the wrestling business. It always comes back to the wrestling.
Exactly.
But hey, that's just my opinion, and that's worth exactly what you're paying for it, and that's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So Micke, you've won a lot of titles over your career, and what do you consider, I guess, was your best or most memorable title win? I know you mentioned with Trish at Mania 22. Is there another one that comes to mind, or is like that one probably the most memorable title win for you?
Oh God. Let's see. I mean, obviously Trish, because that was my first ever championship. You know, my mom's out there. It was the culmination of all my dreams coming true. It was that moment of realizing that, hey, kid, it was all worth it. Like, you made it. You finally made it, kind of deal. That was the moment that, you know, I realized that I truly made it. So ultimately, it's really hard for any moment in my career to stand up to that moment and be an equal. But God, I mean, winning the title back from Lita was pretty emotional in a sense, you know, because there was all that mixed emotion and a bit of sadness for me and you know, happiness obviously because I won the championship, but you know, really sad because I'm seeing my friend leave. There was the championship, the women's championship, when I won it from Beth after I couldn't beat her, and she was pretty much undefeated.
Right.
And I finally beat her in England. Like, that was super cool. There was a championship that I won from Melina in a triple threat match against, it was myself, her, and Victoria. And I had to turn around, and I lost it like 5 minutes later, which was a surprise.
Wow. Yo,
I mean, there's some really cool ones.
Yeah, you're awesome. There's one more quick question I wanted to get in. Was there anybody that you never got the chance to work with, or even somebody that you did get a chance to work with, that you would want to work with one more time if you had the chance to?
In the history of women's wrestling?
Yeah,
or
everybody.
That's currently on the roster.
Oh, no, everybody, Micke, everybody.
Oh, Sensational Sherry, for goodness sake. Yeah, I never had a chance to work with her. I had a chance to work a show that she was on when she was wrestling somebody else in Maryland Championship Wrestling. Before I went up, she worked Tara, and I remember she was on the show, and God, it was awesome. Just watching as a fan. I mean, I was still a fan. I'm still a fan, you know. And then she was just somebody I kind of idolized and really wanted to be like. She was the one. She was so different, and so different from anybody else that was on TV. She could manage, she could walk, she could talk, she could kick butt. She was everything, right? And you know, she wasn't like the glamorous like Miss Elizabeth. She was the kick butt wrestler. You know what I mean? So if there was one person I ever could have worked, it would have been her.
Wow. Go ahead, Dr. D.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to WMER Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, starring the firm Fox Sports 1340 AM, WHAP, Hopewell, Virginia, celebrating Women's History Month in professional wrestling with the one and only Miss Micke James. Instead of taking a commercial break, we're going to take a break for a little bit because we are getting ready to play her latest title CD, Somebody's Gonna Pay. I want to get into this. I don't listen to country normally, but I had to listen to this because I know I'm, as a fan of hers in professional wrestling, I am indeed, no fluff, no puff and stuff, a fan of her music. And Somebody's Gonna Pay is definitely something that I indeed purchased, ladies and gentlemen. You got to purchase it. Don't bootleg it, but purchase Somebody's Gonna Pay. Let's go right into the title song, Somebody's Gonna Pay, Micke James.
Somebody's gonna pay for the way that you walked on me. Somebody's gonna pay for the way that you lied. Somebody's gonna learn something you just don't do to me. Somebody's gonna pay for the way that I cried. The only way to get back at you is with someone new, someone who can be there all the time. I know it's wrong and it sure is cruel, but I'm gonna break your heart the same way you did mine. Somebody's gonna pay for the way that you walked on me. Somebody's gonna pay for the way that you lied. Somebody's gonna learn something you just don't do to me. Somebody's gonna pay for the way that I cried.
I'm getting a little carried away with Somebody's Gonna Pay. Micke James, the one and only Micke James. That is the latest title track from her CD, MP3, however you want to call it. I still call it albums. We know LPs don't exist anymore. We know cassette tapes don't exist anymore. Neither does 8-tracks, but it's still an album, folks. That's what it is. It's a collection of songs that is now you can get on MP3 format and CDs. You know, it is what it is. But you can, of course, order it online through her website, MickeJames.com, where you'll be able to get Somebody's Gonna Pay. And I see a lot of people, I heard from the Wizard Nephew Corey, that they really like that track. Well, I do too. So make sure you guys purchase it. The word is purchase, people, not bootleg. You know, don't make me get Prince up in here on you. So because Prince never like his music bootleg. So Micke James, we are back with you, the one and only Micke James. Micke, let me ask you this. Is there any stigma from the country music industry because you're a wrestler? We know in entertainment there are some stigmas out there when it comes to being a Hollywood actor or doing movies that, because you're a wrestler, you know, that doesn't necessarily make you a good actor. Have you ever come across any of those challenges, being that you're delving into your country music career?
Oh, God. I mean, sure. Of course there's that, you know, that initial, you know, stick of oh, yeah, she's that wrestler chick that sings. I mean, that's anything, like, you know, from anyone trying to cross over into any other industry. That's very true. And that's why you have to really commend, like, The Rock for his amazing success in the acting world. And even, you know, Chris Jericho, he's been at it for, gosh, I feel like 10 to almost 15, you know, going, I don't really know. I know it's been 10 plus years that he's been plugging away. And, you know, that's just it. I mean, you look at any anyone crossing over from one industry to the other, and obviously because people know you from that one world, and it's really hard for anyone to think like, oh, she's successful in this business, and yet, she's, pretty good in this other one, or he or she or whoever. So it's just that overcoming that, and hopefully, like, as people hear the music and come out and see me live, like, perhaps, hopefully, I change their mind. And if I don't, I don't. Like let's face it, not everybody listens to my type of music, and I like to find my music as Southern rock or soul, like country rock. So it's not just country; it's a bit of rock and roll, with a Southern edge, I guess. But I love it, man. I mean, it's honestly, it's one of those things of like, it gives me something else to put my energy into, to express myself in a different way that I could never do in the ring or on stage. And it doesn't take away my love from being a performer and my love of being a wrestler. But it certainly, if anything, it adds to it, because it adds that emotional side from that you would never get from me. That whether it's the heartfelt side, from the ballads, or like Somebody's Gonna Pay was perfect. It was the perfect kickoff song. It was the perfect single for the release, the perfect title track for that album. It's a song that we got from Jimmy from Hartford, which was released at the early 90s, late 80s. And so to go back in the studio and vamp it up and add guitars and drums and really rock it out. And it just totally runs parallel with who my persona is and who I am in the ring. I mean, how many times have I wanted to say that to my opponent, It's just kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Before Somebody's Gonna Pay, many fans may remember your very first album, Strangers and Angels. Is that still available, or has that discontinued totally?
It was because I self-released Strangers and Angels, and I have about 30 copies of it here at the house. And I've thought about, like, well, do I want to release that and or at least, re-release it, or maybe perhaps re-release it at a later date, because, going into that, like, it's a learning process, right? And there was a lot of things that I still didn't know and that I was so confused about, and that I was doing things wrong, and you know what I mean? But it was my first album, and I was very, very, very proud of it. And if you go back and you listen to that album and this album, you can hear how much I've grown as a performer and as an artist just in those two albums. And so, there's some songs on there that I love, and both these albums, that I co-wrote on them. So to have them, meshed in with the mix of these amazing songs that came from songwriters all over Nashville, who are incredibly talented, it's really cool for me. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. And it's, I feel like it's really cool for the fans who actually went out and got that album, because hopefully maybe one day it's a collector's item, because it was such a limited, a limited release type of thing. But who's to say, like, perhaps further down the road, because, you can't get it on iTunes. You can't get it anywhere anymore. I have the last 30 copies, and I'm holding them for ransom. Yes. Right.
And I'm assuming even in your earlier stages of your country music career, you own all of your material, I believe, correct?
Well, I own, it's the thing. Here's the deal, is that the songwriters own their songs. But you buy the release in order to use those songs, and perhaps in doing that, no one can cut that song for an allotted amount of time afterwards. But it doesn't mean that no one can ever cut that song again. So, yeah, I mean, I own the rights, obviously, to my songs, to the songs that I wrote.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and so do the songwriters that I work with on them. And if they were to approach me and say, hey, Jason Aldean wants to cut your song, I would be a fool not to let him. You know what I mean? It's like, heck yeah, that's awesome. Let him go.
Right. Yeah. Now, have you yet to perform on any popular country music shows? I mean, can you help us with some of the appearances that you have made outside of being on wrestling television?
Oh, God. No, I mean, I've done some really cool things. Like I did the Dustin Wells benefit, which I was able to share the stage with, like, Little Big Town and Rascal Flatts. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was a really cool experience. And ironically, that was my very first time ever being on stage musically in front of everyone, and I was able to, be put in that position. And that was mostly due to the fact that, like, the people that I was involved with the record, but yeah, and I've opened for Gretchen Wilson and Montgomery Gentry and Randy Houser, and so, and I have done several different spots on different country networks like Total Country, and definitely. And obviously, we met with CMT and GAC about my, playing my music videos that Trish Stratus guest starred in, as well as Magnus, who is now the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, co-starred in.
Right.
But at the timing of the whole thing, it was also, with the release of, like, Carrie's new single and a bunch, all these top music stars singles at the same time in their music videos. So I was in tough competition. It was obviously so it's one of those things, and it is, but it's done really great. Like, those YouTube hits, honestly, that says a lot. Like they really say a lot in how well, the song is perceived. And I had nothing
very
but
well received
that from, the video and from the album so far. And I mean, it's obviously, it's in Walmart and it's in FYE. And if they're not in your store, you can go on walmart.com or FYE.com and order them if you don't feel like order them off my website. And you're more of a digital, you're more of like, I want to hold the album in my hand kind of person.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, when I get a chance to see you again, hopefully you'll be able to bring your CDs this time in the event that you are going to come, not necessarily to perform country music, but, of course, to come and wrestle. And I would definitely like to purchase a copy. See, I'm old school anyway because, I know downloading is the thing, but I've always said, you can't autograph an MP3. You just can't. So hopefully I'll be able to have somebody who's going to pay in my hand for you to be able to sign Micke, and I would definitely appreciate it. Definitely.
Oh, definitely. Well, I typically I always have them with me for the most part. Yeah, at pretty much any signing and stuff, and I will have them in at WrestleCon, just WrestleMania weekend, and I'm also performing on stage at WrestleCon. So that's exciting for me. It's going to be very intimate. It's just me and my guitarist, and it's going to be an acoustic set. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Let's get these dates in. WrestleMania weekend, Micke James will be at WrestleCon, but if you want to see her perform, see her at the Sugar Center, in Chalmette, Louisiana, and the Sugar Mill in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's April 4th, April 5th, and April 6th. She'll be at the Sugar Mill in New Orleans, Louisiana, and April 4th, April 6th. And we also got to throw this in there for the hometown crowd, the DMV. She is going to be at the Faux Show Italian Sports Grill in Emporia, Virginia. That is June the 7th. Micke James will be there to perform at the Faux Show Italian Sports Grill. I gotta find out what's Faux Show about their Italian grill.
I'm also doing, I think it's May 3rd. I'm doing Ladysmith Day.
Okay.
How about that? Really doing it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I'll be performing there as well.
Cool. And since we're talking about women's history in general, not just professional wrestling, who were your inspirations in the country music scene? Who were your favorites?
Oh gosh, I was a massive Shania Twain fan, and I know she's Canadian, but as far as the country world, like she was that whole country pop. She made country sexy and cool. Obviously, Reba McEntire. As far as, if we're just talking females, those are probably, and Tanya Tucker. Those are my top three right there of people who really, did it for me as far as the women. And I feel like, I try to embrace a little bit of Shania, a little bit of Tanya. You know what I mean? Somewhere in the middle there.
I see a little bit of that. I do, and yes, folks. I like I said before. I guess you can call me Marie Osmond. I do tend to be a little bit country, but
a little bit country, a little rock
wrestling.
and roll.
That's right, and a whole lot of soul, Mickey. A whole lot of soul.
Hey,
let me go.
I grew up with so many different types of music. That's the thing. I mean, my dad's a soul man all the way. My mom was pop.
Yeah.
So it was like. And then my stepdad is who really introduced country music to me. But I grew up listening to everything. There's not, and then even playing the violin when I was in school, that was all orchestra music. It was all symphony type, Mozart and Beethoven and Bach. So it was just, music is just it fills your soul, right? Like as long as it moves you, it makes you feel. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because the song, whatever turns you on, even puts me in a quiet storm kind of mood, and we're going to be playing that in just a few minutes. But let me ask you this. When it comes to traveling on the road, who were some of your road buddies in the business?
Oh, gosh. For the most part, I traveled alone a lot. I really did. And, but I'd say, I traveled with Maria for a spell. We traveled a bit together. I traveled with Beth Phoenix a lot, and I traveled with Kelly. Yeah. But for the most part, I really, it's tough because, you're obviously friends with everybody, but when you're on the road so much and you're in the same locker room all the time, you sometimes need to break away and have that moment with yourself. And for me, I know, driving 2 hours, 3 hours after a show sounds a bit crazy to some people by yourself, and it's probably not the safest thing to do, but I'm pretty tough. And it's just one of those things of sometimes you need those moments of solitude to really reconnect with yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Plus, it's as tough as it is to say. I mean, it's a very tough industry, and everybody, for the most part, everybody gets along, and we're all friends. But at the same time, you'd be ignorant not to recognize the fact that we're all gunning for the same thing, and we all want the same thing. And for the women, that's only one thing. There's only one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So during your days on the road traveling, would like to believe that you have come across some good ribs that were done to you, if you had any. What would you say was the most memorable rib that has ever happened to you?
I don't share ribs because those are locker room fun. But I honestly never really got ribs for the most part. I was pretty well respected in the locker room, and that wasn't I never really, seen some funny ones for sure. But but I digress.
Okay. Looking back now at your
that's the thing of that's the beauty of the locker room. That's supposed to be that sacred element. You know what I mean? Because it's the camaraderie and the family and that whole thing of the locker room.
Yeah. I know we've had guests on our show that told us some amazing ribs, and they're pretty cool. Now let's go back into your career and everything that you've done for WWE, which can now be seen on the WWE Network. Do you happen to have the WWE Network yourself?
I do not, but I'm not on. I don't watch enough TV to even I live in the sticks. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I live in the sticks. I don't even have I have DirecTV. I don't even have cable.
Oh wow!
So, which it's fine. A lot of people have DirecTV. I love it. It's just fine. But I don't even watch TV enough. I'm on the road so much, and it's just But from my understanding, everyone it's pretty incredible. Fans tweeting me all the time of they're watching different matches, from my career and from whatever on the network, and I think it's an awesome thing as a fan to have, because you have everything pretty much at your fingertips, right? Is it in a sense like forgive me because it's like can you is it like an on-demand thing? Like can you go back and watch the entire library of like
yeah? Let me. I'm going to actually answer that one for you.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, because I'm on it right now as we speak, Mickey. This is Corey, by the way. Sorry, I'm on there right now, and I just typed in your name, and the first couple of matches that pop up, let's see, they've got your team versus Team Michelle from Survivor Series 2009. They pulled up you in the Divas Battle Royal from WrestleMania 25.
That wouldn't be in there.
Yeah, I mean, when you type your name, anything that you were in, it comes up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and they have you.
I'm shocked that those two would be the top two. Like,
well,
in my opinion, it would
who knows what their order
to
is?
have them in like popularity, and I'm sure that those weren't the top two watch matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they have another interesting one too. From Night of Champions 2008, they have you and Katie Lee Burchill.
Oh, Kat,
yes.
I love her so much.
Yeah. So and that's just a few that come up, just offhand. But who knows what their order is? But yeah, I mean that's one of the cool features about it, Mickey, is that you type in the name of somebody and it comes right up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, so you are definitely featured on here. To
so
say
what
the least.
happens when you type in, let's say, Midnight Express?
Oh, man. Well, let's find out. I can do that for you right now as we speak. I am typing that in.
I wonder if they have their whole library or if it's just WWE programs.
Here's what they're doing, Mickey. I can tell you this a little bit, and, of course, they're not paying me for this, but I'll plug them. Why not?
Why not?
I know. The entire pay-per-view library is on there. But as for other shows, a lot of their television stuff, it's not added there as of yet. And, Mickey, I don't know what your reaction to this will be, but when I type in Midnight Express, the initial stuff that comes up is the Midnight Express from the variety of Bombastic Bob and Bodacious Bart. I kid you not.
No.
So that's initially, and I don't know, it could be because I'm watching on my PlayStation 3 right now. I'm not on my computer. So I don't know if the search engines are different.
Yeah, but you think about it, what are most people going to watch that on? They're going to search it on their, their box or whatever on their television, right? Like we're not all going to sit behind a computer and type it in.
Yeah.
I suppose they own all the footage for that. So I know, that perhaps it's baby steps and like that could be like, we're adding our AWA library, we're adding our, whatever library.
Mm-hmm.
For shame.
Right, you're right.
Shame.
Because
the Night Express.
Yeah, the only libraries that are up as far as pay-per-view right now, Mickey, are the WWE, the WCW, and the ECW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the other stuff could be coming.
To be fair, like how many of today's wrestling fans that are like technology savvy would even know who the Midnight Express is?
That's true.
Except for the real wrestling fans, so like the hardcore.
Yeah, you're right. Right. No, you're right.
But except for like hardcore wrestling fans or like the older generation would know who they are, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Go ahead, D. I'm sorry. I just figured I'd answer that because I had the network up.
And because Jim Cornette was such a main, person in OVW, I've watched hours of Midnight Express. And Rock and Roll Express.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, Dr. D.
Oh, okay. You know what? And speaking of which, going back to working on the indie scene, of course, right when you were in WWE, I started going to the Kaida promotions back in the day, and I've heard so much about Jimmy Z and what he has done for you and what he has done for for Sanjay Dutt and so many others that I had become affiliated with that also worked in Maryland Championship Wrestling. So getting to your humble beginnings, tell us about working at Kaida from back in the day.
Oh God, I mean, Kaida was my start. Like I can't knock it. Like obviously it was a small school. We were in the back of a martial arts studio, and it was a box that I was learning to take my first falls in and everything else. And granted, it wasn't a massive promotion or anything like that, but it definitely gave me my start, and it got my foot in the door, and it made me, fall in love with the ins and outs of the business. I already loved wrestling. I was an avid fan, but it made me fall in love with the business, and from there, I was able to take everything that I'd learned from there and move on and go to, and be recognized by Maryland, and for them to bring me in and start to mold me. And that's where I really started to take roots and kind of make my way as an independent star on the, which is, it's not a massive feat by any means, but it's really where I started to branch out and make my name big enough to where, the Fed at the time and would even take a look at me, Yeah.
Shout out to Dan McDevitt. I love my Maryland Championship Wrestling fan. I love MCW. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, starring the firm, Fox Sports 1340 AM. We have been very, very royally entertained, if you will, by the one and only, first ever, only WWE Women's Divas and TNA Knockouts champ, Micke James. Micke, before we go, tell us where else we'll be able to see you in the near future.
Oh, gosh. You never know. Like looking in your window right now, probably. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I'm always popping up somewhere, and my schedule is ever changing. But if you go to MickeJames.com, or obviously you can find everywhere to find me, from my Facebook page to my Twitter. It's all right there, and
Yes. It's very, very simple.
Near you. Peeking in your window.
Yeah, very simple.
What?
Very simple. At Micke James, Micke James on Facebook, Micke James on Twitter, MickeJames.com.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close it out with her song, Whatever Turns You On, because she always turns me on every time I get a chance to see her. Of course, I crush on her, so I poke fun of myself, but she's such a good sport at it. And Micke, I just want to say thank you for just spending time with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Shout out to Al McManus for being able to set this up, and BigShowMusico.com will plug his website as well. And we are looking for nothing but big things for you in the country music end, because you already done it and still doing it on the wrestling scene. Of course, people are saying, what are the chances of you returning to WWE or TNA? Let's just answer that right now without having to, of course, give anything away. But we always ask it by saying, is the door open for you to return?
On my end, the door is always open. Yeah.
I love it.
The lights,
I love it.
On down the hall.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, close us out, Corey. We're going to close it out with Whatever Turns You On. Go ahead.
Of course, Micke James knows this, but if you're not confirmed, consider yourself denied.
End of story. End of story. Whatever turns you
Would
on.
you like a little cream in your coffee? Or tell me, do you take your coffee black? Would you want me knocking on your front door? Or would you rather meet me round and back?